You are watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. info@netsoftakademy.com. www.netsoftacademy.com.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Beginner's Guide to Azure series. So far, we talked about identity with Entra ID, how Azure subscription helps you to structure your environment, and how networking keeps everything connected and secure. Now it's time to look at one of the most essential components of any cloud infrastructure, let alone Azure. That is Azure Virtual Machine, or Azure VMs. If you ever worked with a physical server, Azure VM will feel very similar, without the hardware configuration hassle though. So let's jump in. So what is Azure VM? Well, an Azure Virtual Machine is basically a server running on Azure Cloud Infrastructure. It's a part of Azure's Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS. And it gives you full control over operating system, hardware specification, and any installed software on it, just like a server in your own data center or your office. Now, you can use Azure VM for a lot of scenarios. Things like running custom business application on it, or you may host your own website on that server. Or maybe you want to set up a sandbox environment for your development and testing team, DevOps as well. Or you want to migrate old on-prem workload to this cloud infrastructure. So it is quite flexible, scalable, and a great starting point when you're getting into the Azure ecosystem. Now, when you will create a virtual machine, one of the first things you will choose is the size, that is the configuration, which controls how much CPU, memory, and storage performance you get for your server or for your computer on Azure. Here, Azure offers a variety of VM series, which is optimized for different scenarios. For example, you can select a size from B series, B for Bravo. Now, this series is designed for burstable, low-cost workloads. Then you can go for Delta series, that is D series, for more general purpose use. Now, for my demos, I use D series. For most of my demos, I use it. Then you have Echo series, that is E series, which is used for more memory use case, when you want more RAM. Then you have F series, if your application needs high CPU power. And then we also have something called N series, that is November, N series, if you want to have a graphic card with your system, because you want to run some graphical intensive applications. For that scenario, you have to select N series. And then there is pricing. You can pay as you go, which is a great opportunity to test different series and then quickly shut it off if you don't like it, because you only pay for what you use. Now, if you are not sure that something will cost more or something will cost less, and what should be my ideal setup, well, in that case, Azure provides you something called Azure Pricing Calculator. So before you create your virtual machine infrastructure, it's a good idea to head over to Azure Pricing Calculator, that is just a web application, put your scenario there, and it will give you a rough estimate of how much it might cost. So when you are ready to spin up your new virtual machine, Azure walks you through some key decisions. First, you will choose your image, meaning the operating system you want. This could be Windows Server, Windows 10, 11, Ubuntu, Red Hat, or any other operating system from Microsoft Azure's own marketplace. Or you can also put custom images if you want. Then you will select region where your VM will run. It's the best to pick a region close to your users to get the lowest latency possible and better performance. It enhances your QoS, that is quality of service. Next comes the authentication. For Windows, you usually set up username and password. For Linux, the SSH keys are the more secure and preferred option, even though for Linux as well, you can set up username and password. Now, every VM needs to connect to something, right? It might be a different virtual machine in the same network, or in a different network. Or maybe the VM wants to go to internet. And that's where networking comes in. By default, Azure creates a network interface, a network security group, that is NSG, and often a public IP for your VM. This is done by Azure automatically. You can control whether the VM is reachable from the internet and which ports are open, like RDP for Windows and SSH for Linux. You can control that, of course, with the help of NSG. Now, the big takeaway here is that you should always be intentional about what you expose. Don't open more ports than you need. And think about using tools like Bastion or private access when possible. In short, yes, there are many methods to connect with your VM via your established network, but make sure you don't open multiple pathways to your virtual machine. That just destroys your security posture. Now, just like your laptop have hard drives in it for storage purposes, here in Azure, each VM also have few types of storage attached to it. The first type is called OS disk. It's in the name. It holds the operating system. Now, this disk is persistent, meaning it stays even if the VM restarts. The data stays in it. Then there is a temporary disk, which is useful for caching or short-term data. But keep in mind, it gets wiped during the maintenance or redeployment of the virtual machine, or maybe the restart. And finally, you can also add data disk for things like application, databases, or file storage. It's like expanding your server with extra hard drive which you bought from Amazon and you connected it. Now, disks also come in different performance tier. Standard HDD, the standard hard drive, gives you cheaper storage, but also the performance takes a hit. Standard SSD gives you the balance of cost and performance, and premium SSD gives you the best throughput, the best performance you can get. So you can match performance to your budget as well as your use case. Once your VM is running, Azure gives you several tools to manage it. For starters, you can schedule auto shutdown. This is super useful for test environments where you don't want to leave your VM running overnight. You can also use extensions to install agents and tools, whether you want to install antivirus or diagnostic tools, or maybe a custom script. You can also do that. And don't forget about Azure Backup. It lets you take snapshots of your VM and set up a daily protection plan with built-in retention options. And then there are so many more tools which we will see when I will show you the dashboard. So after your VM is deployed, how do you get into it? Well, for Windows VM, you use Remote Desktop or RDP service. Usually, it runs over port 3389. And for Linux VM, it's SSH, typically on port number 22. If your VM has a public IP address, then you can connect to your virtual machine directly from your own local machine right away. You can use your laptop. But if you're trying to keep things more secure, and you should, you might skip the public IP altogether and access your VM through a private network. In this case, you can use Azure Bastion, which is, again, a very awesome and great tool. It lets you connect to your virtual machine without opening any ports to the internet or without exposing your virtual machine to internet traffic. So once your VM is up and running, it is also important to keep an eye on it or to monitor it. Here, Azure gives you built-in monitoring tools to track performance, like CPU usage, memory usage, or disk usage, and even network usage. You can also enable boot diagnostics, review crash dumps, or even open Serial Console if your VM won't start properly. And when it comes to updates, well, the Azure Update Management lets you schedule operating system patches to keep everything more secure and compliant. You can even set up alerts, for example, to notify you if the CPU usage stays high for a very long time, or if the VM or virtual machine shuts down unexpectedly. Then Azure can send you a call or even text message or email as an alert.
All right, now let's see how you can deploy a compute, that is virtual machine, on Azure. So for that, let's search for virtual machine. And you will get to this portal. Right now, I don't have any machines running. So let's create our first machine. So I'll click on Create Virtual Machine. And then you just have to follow the prompts, fill all the information according to your scenario. So in my case, I will select my subscription and I will select my resource group, that is demo. Then I will give my machine a unique name within a scope. So demo VM. Then I will select my region and then availability option. Well, availability option simply means that if you want your environment to have high fault tolerance, if something goes bad with one instance, at least your service is running on the other. So this gives you high availability. But for this demo, I can just select no infra required. Then your security type will be standard. Well, if you want a virtual TPM environment, you can also select Trusted Launch Virtual Machine. This will create a trusted platform module, but not a hardware one. This will be a virtual one. Now, this is important. That is your image, your operating system. Here you can select the operating system you want to install on your machine. So let's say I want to install Windows 11 Pro, I can select that. But if you don't see the image you want, then click on See All Images. It will take you to the marketplace. And from here, you can search for the image you want. Remember, all these images are maintained by Microsoft, so they are all stable and secure. All right. Now you will select the right size. So this is like configuring your machine with how much RAM you want, how much CPU power you want. What will be the IOPS, means the throughput of your drive. Again, if you don't find your size, then click on See All Sizes, and then you can search for it. It will show you all the series as well. Now, if you have a free subscription, you may not be eligible to use any size you want. You have to select within a specific set of sizes. So let's say I like this one. I will select that. This gives me 2 CPU cores, 4 GB RAM, 4 GB data disk. That is your temporary disk, not your actual storage disk. Then the output, the IOPS, input output per second. The higher number is the better one. I will select this. I will click Select. All right, so if you want to enable hibernation feature as well, you can also check this option. Hibernation simply means that your machine will go into a proper shutdown, but the content you were working on will be saved on your hard drive, that is your persistent drive. So everything in your RAM will be saved or cached on your hard drive. But when you boot up your machine, all that cached data will move back to your RAM and all your application will show up as if nothing happened. You can start wherever you stopped. Now, you enter your username and password. Now, this username and password have nothing to do with Entra ID. This is just the local administrator account of this machine. So I can just call it admin account or Nita ADM admin, and then you just put your password. Done. Now this is where you select which ports you want to open. But don't worry, even if you select none and deploy your machine, in the future you can create NSG and then apply it. And after that, you can open the ports. But if you want to save time, Azure gives you a template where you can decide which ports you want to open straight away. So let's say this is my Windows machine, so I will open RDP port. Then I confirm the license agreement, click next. This is where you can configure what sort of speed or what sort of performance you need from your drive. So I will select premium SSDs. Plus, if you want to attach a pre-existing drive with your environment, you can, or you can create a new data disk and attach it. If you go to advanced, yes, over here you can also configure ephemeral disk if you want your data to be stored on the same server rack as close to your computer as possible. This gives you the best performance, but remember this is for operating systems which are very, I will say, portable in size. Next is networking, where you can either create a new network for this machine, or you can also select a pre-existing network, which I will do. I will select the first network I created as a demo. Then the subnet. Here, you will decide if you want to create a public IP, yes or no. If you say none, then you can put this machine behind a load balancer, behind a firewall, behind any other service which will act like the public front end. But in my case, I will create a public IP so that we can connect to this machine directly from this public IP. Now this is where you create your NSG. So do you want NSG? If you say none, there will be no NSGs. And you cannot connect with this machine because public ports will not be open. If you say basic, well, it will create an NSG and open the ports you selected earlier. And over here, you will also make a selection if you want to open more ports. And if you click advanced, then you can connect the NSG you created, or a pre-existing NSG can be connected. I'll go with basic and open RDP. Now, this is just for housekeeping because if something goes bad and you delete your machine, along with your machine, your public IP and your network card will be removed. Otherwise, it will just stay there. If you have a load balancer or application gateway configured in your environment, you can put this machine directly in the pool of your load balancer or your application gateway. There must be a backend pool. You can add this machine straight away. Management. Now, if you want Defender for Cloud to protect this machine, you can enable it from here. But remember, Defender for Cloud is a separate service, and you may also have to pay for it. Now, the payment might be for individual servers, or it can be in a discount as well. It all depends on your subscription. Well, if you want this machine to join your Entra ID, or you want this machine to have an assigned identity, maybe you want to give permissions to this machine directly, you can check this option. If you want this machine to join Entra ID, you can check this option. This way, your Entra ID users can log in. It's like joining a domain. Here you can enable auto shutdown. You can also put a schedule for it. So after that time, the machine will be shut down automatically, saving you cost in the long run. Now, if you want to enable disaster recovery, well, you can create a redundant machine as well. Now, for this site recovery, you also need a proper infrastructure established in a different region as well. And that different region must also support the VM size you selected, because every region may have slight differences in the sizes they support. And over here, you can select if you want Microsoft to automatically keep your machine up to date, or you want to update your machine manually. Maybe you're using some third-party software and you want to take control of your machine updates, then you can select that as well. Click Next, Monitoring. This is where you can create alerts on this machine. Alerts can be that, hey, if this machine is at 90% of CPU usage and for 5 minutes plus, then send me the alert so that I can check what is going wrong with this machine. You can also enable boot diagnostics. Well, let's say your machine is not booting properly and you want to see what's happening, at what step this machine is crashing. Well, with boot diagnostic, at least you get insight of the boot process. You can also disable it if you don't want it. Then you can also enable the option to monitor your environment, especially your scale set. Next. Here in advanced, you can add extension. Let's say you're using a size which gives you an NVIDIA graphic card with it. Well, you cannot use NVIDIA graphic card if you don't have the right drivers. Then you can search for that driver and install it in your system. So this driver will be installed as an extension. Think about adding extra software to your machine. Or Zoom, we don't have it. How about TeamViewer? Let's say you want to add TeamViewer as well. You can add that. So these are your extension. If you want to add applications, yes, you can also add VM applications. Plus, you can also push a script. So this advanced option is for advanced users, obviously, and you can use this especially in the realm of automation. When you're doing automation, then there is a chance that you might run some custom scripts as well. Once you're happy with your machine, click Next. You can add your tags to tie it to a particular project or maybe department, but tags are not compulsion. Click Next, it will review. If something goes wrong, it will give you a validation error. Maybe you missed something. So don't worry, you can always go back and fix it. As you can see, this virtual machine requires subscription. So just telling me that you cannot create a virtual machine. That means that maybe in my subscription, compute is not registered. So I will go to subscription. Now this step is not required to create your virtual machine. It's just for my subscription, compute is not registered. So I'll go to subscription. Then under settings, I'll go to resource provider and search for compute. Yeah, I cannot create computers. So I will say, yes, I want to register. So once it is registered, then I can create a computer. So I will pause the video, register myself, create a computer, and then I will resume. All right, so the machine is now deployed. Let's go to the virtual machine now. I actually had to change my operating system because in my subscription, Windows 11 was not available. So I switched to Windows 10. And as you can see right now, my machine is up and running. Because the start is grayed out, I can only stop it. That means it is running. And even if you go to the virtual machine overview page, here the status will also tell you. Now let's see how we can connect with it. To connect, again, you will go to connect and click on this connect button. And then it will ask you to download the RDP file. Then you will download it and double click on it. Basically, it will take you to the RDP client and the client will have your IP address already configured. Or you can just copy the public IP. Then in your computer, just click on start and type RDP and paste it there. And here we go. Now you will enter the local admin username and password which you configured. And it will connect you to the machine. And we are connected. So this is how easy it is to create a basic virtual machine and then how to connect with it. Yes, you can also connect via Bastion, you can connect via firewall, load balancer. There are so many other methods. This one is the basic one. All right, so now you're connected and here is your machine. Now, once your machine is running, it will take some time, but you can always go back to your machine and go to monitoring. And from here, you can monitor the health and performance of your machine. Let's say you want to check the logs or you want to check the metrics. You can just click on it and configure it. Let's say I want to check CPU percentage usage and I want to see the average. I will see the result over here. Now, this result is not real time. There is slight lag to it. For example, if you see some spike on the actual machine, it will not show up right away, but eventually it will show up. So it takes some time, but this is how you monitor your environment.
All right, so now you have a solid understanding of Azure Virtual Machine. In this video, we covered how to choose the right virtual machine size and pricing model, how to deploy and secure your virtual machine, how to configure networking and storage, and how to manage and monitor your VMs after deployment. In the next video, we are going to explore Azure Storage. We will look at blob containers, file share, and how to choose the right type of storage for your needs. If you're finding this series helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. And drop a comment in the comment section. I will see you in the next video. Take care.
Thank you for watching NetSoft IT Academy. 905-812-2923. Info@netsoftatacademy.com. www.netsoftatacademy.com.